Hello, hello. This is Real Talk with Stacey Morgenstern, where we get to talk about things that most people don't or won't. So today's topic is gratitude. And oh my goodness, I've had a whirlwind of a morning getting my daughter off to school, and I was feeling stressed out. Because I had to come to this Facebook Live. And when I was in this stress mode, it was like my mind immediately started identifying with everything that was going wrong, and where I felt like I was falling behind. I was on one of those treadmills where you lose control. It's going too fast in one direction and you lose control and then you fly off the back. That was sort of how I was feeling this morning. And ironically, this topic was going to be about gratitude. So that's what we're going to talk about today. We are going to talk about gratitude. When we stop and look at our lives, there's so much to be grateful for, even when it does not appear to be obvious. And what's also true is that gratitude comes and goes. For some, like my friend Wendy, who I'm going to talk about because she really inspired me into gratitude this weekend. But for some, like her, gratitude seems to come easily. I experience her as just in a perpetual state of gratitude. And that's where she resides. That's her default. Does that have to do with one's upbringing, or are there some people who are just born that way? And is it okay if we don't feel grateful at times? How does one experience gratitude when life feels hard? So these are some of the topics that are in my mind this morning. But I feel like I need to just take a few deep breaths. So can we just all slow down for a moment and type into the chat if you want, what is your one or two sentences, how do you take yourself from stress, crisis, freak out, funk, to an attitude of gratitude in under 10 seconds, where you're able to do a state change? Are you able to even do that? Maybe some of us are looking for resources for how to do that. Some of us it takes hours, some of us it takes days. And then there's other people like my friend Wendy, who doesn't even allow herself to be magnetized towards something other than gratitude, or it's a very rare time. And with me, I'm going to share a practice of what I do to go from anxiety to gratitude. But if you have a practice, you can post it in the chat. And for the rest of us, let's just take a few deep breaths, because if there's something that I've learned is that it's easier to lean into gratitude when we slow down. So taking a few deep breaths. See if you can identify the breath pattern of gratitude. What is that breath pattern? Lori says deep breaths and literally picture myself coming back to center. Yes. Vicky is agreeing with deep breaths. Yes, excellent. Celie says, I make my wins bigger. I blow them up. Great. And Andrea says, I journal and use the power of nature to help me reach a state of gratitude when I'm struggling. Yeah, these are fantastic. So I've been residing more so in anxiety and stress and worry recently, just in the last few weeks, than I have been in gratitude. It was almost like it was like gratitude was playing hide and seek with me or something, and I couldn't find it. And I was waking up in the middle of the night, not sleeping well, worried about things that haven't happened yet. And I started stacking fear and judgment against myself. So have you ever had this experience where one fear pops up, like I'm not a good enough mother, or oh my gosh, I don't have enough money and I'll never have enough money. I'll never be able to rest ever. I'm going to have to work until even beyond I'm dead. And I'll never get to go on this trip, or whatever the all nevers, right? That's one way of stacking against ourselves, or the I'm not good enough, the enoughness. So these are, I learned recently that when I'm in a negative loop, I have a stacking system. It's great to notice about yourself the ways that you stack against yourself and how that distances you further and further from gratitude. So if you think of this continuum, we're always on a continuum here. And it was pointed out to me that I'd come up with, I'm not a good mother. I made this mistake. And then right behind that one was another stack. Oh, I ate terrible today. And then behind that was, oh, I'm not investing money correctly, therefore I'm not going to have a retirement fund. And oh, I haven't called my parents in weeks, I'm a terrible child. And oh, what if there's an earthquake and I didn't order that earthquake preparedness bag? And just keep stacking and stacking against myself, and that would just take me further and further away from gratitude. So I'm curious if you have a stacking practice of stacking against yourself. And the other day I'm hanging out with my friend Wendy, who I said before is someone who really resides in joy and gratitude. And when I asked her, she, like, were you born this way? And she said, no, I wasn't just born this way. She says, it's a practice. It's a commitment. It's a way of being. And I don't when I told her about the stacking thing, she says, I don't let myself get engulfed in the undertow of that stacking. So if I'm on my mental street where I even see one of those self-bullying negative thoughts coming towards me, then she might say, oh, there's one of those thoughts. I am not that thought. That is not who I am. And is there anything that I can learn from that? So I may experience that, but I'm just experiencing that. I am not that. And for some reason that landed as helpful for me too, because I don't seem to catch myself when they're starting to come towards me. I end up just getting sucked in like this negative vacuum that just sucks me in, and then I can't even find gratitude, right? I'm in a pothole of despair and anxiety and self-bullying and negativity. And that is just no good. So what I've been practicing in order to get myself more over to gratitude, because that's where I'd like to reside and have anxiety be the aberration. So I'd like to be residing in gratitude and joy, but it's a practice. You have to build a muscle. And now I've been trying to get ahead of it. So when I see those thoughts coming, is to not identify it. I am not that thought. Oh, look at that. There is an experience called anxiety. Let me see if there's anything to learn from that. So earthquake preparedness bag. What is that anxiety letting me know? Oh, it's not something that means something bad about me. It's just a clarion call for what I want to have in my life. Great, I want to have more earthquake preparedness. And I can do something about that, okay? So here we are, is not refusing to stack against yourself. Yes, and I see Kristen, stopping the negative self-talk before it accumulates and escalates. I love those words. Being the witness to my thoughts from Mike. Hey, Mike, good to see you. Yes. Yes, and I'm seeing some thumbs up. And Angie saying, yes, it's a commitment and a way of being. And Sherry saying, I am the queen o' stacking, right? Sherry, we could start a club, but let's stack in favor of ourselves and not against ourselves. So here I am, I'm with Wendy, telling her about my stacking habit, which had become a habit. She tells me, okay, don't identify with that. And then she says, and then I come to my senses. I literally do peripheral vision and just notice something beautiful right here and now. So I want to invite you into this practice, and I'm going to share one of my other practices as well, but right here and now, can you look up away from your computer and just notice something in your own internal being or in your environment that you can appreciate? What is something that brings you peace, joy, gratitude? What is something that is available to you to notice? And what I think is useful about that is that you have in your control where you steer your attention at all times. So are you steering them towards the negative stacking, or are you steering it towards something you can appreciate, perhaps be in wonder and awe? So go ahead and post something that you can notice right now. And I want you to actually take it in. If it's something in your environment, go ahead and take it in as if you could make that a part of yourself, experience it in you. And let it be something small. It doesn't have to be some big, magnificent thing, but let it be small and just enjoy. Allow yourself to enjoy. And like you have a little volume dial, allow yourself to enjoy it a little more. I notice that we hold back on actually really enjoying ourselves. So give yourself permission to enjoy something right now, right here. Now notice the circumstances of your life won't have changed after noticing this, but your experience perhaps of your circumstances might feel differently. Yes, so I'm seeing a lot of good appreciations here. The warmth of the sun on my skin, my view in the window, just sat outside and the warm air changed my mood from Kimberly. Vicky, the trees, leaves rustling in the wind. Laura says, my Japanese maple. So every single one of you that I just read those comments did something that I want to point out, and that was details. So instead of generalizing, oh, I feel grateful, the dividends are in the details. The dividends are in the details. So you've got to focus your attention and engage your senses, right? So literally coming to your senses is what has you savor and appreciate the moment. So that's certainly one way of conjuring gratitude in a snap. Now, the other way that I once heard my brother-in-law used with his son. His son was maybe 9 years old at the time. And I heard him do this incredible thing. He said to his son, Michael, I'm going to count to 10, and then you're going to change your attitude. And he counts to 10, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And he says, now change your attitude. And I thought, oh my God, does that work? That's genius. So over the last few decades, I've been practicing that. I had forgotten about it over these last few weeks. I want to pass it on to you. It doesn't always work the first time. So if it doesn't, count to 10 again and then change your attitude. Here's the trick that I found is that you've got to decide what state you're leaving and what state you want to come to. So is it gratitude? Is it joy? Is it peace? Is it relaxation? And then start noticing the breath pattern of each of those states. Because if you practice the breath pattern of gratitude, for example, you can kind of trick your nervous system into accessing it at any time. And I have found this to be one of the quickest ways to state change. So I want you to practice that is 10-second state change. You count to 10, and on your way to counting to 10, go ahead and fully feel the negative feelings for the last time of that moment. So on my way to 10, I'm actually turning the dial up on fear and anxiety because I'm about to let it go. And it's our resistance to fully feeling the anxiety and worry that has it persist. What you resist persists. I believe it was Debbie Ford who said that. So can you load up worry, fear, anxiety, and then on the count of 10, change your state. And notice that gratitude is actually not something you have to get. It's something you simply allow. That feels important. Gratitude is not something you have to get. It's something you simply allow. It's not something to pursue or impose like some idealized human being, but to just step back into what is already and always here, which is gratitude. And you are free to not be grateful. It's not something to burden yourself with, but it's something that is here and available all the time. Byron Katie says, gratitude is what we are without story. The end of the war with the mind is the end of the war. Woo! Great quote. Gratitude is what we are without story. The end of the war with the mind is the end of the war. So I'm wondering what else comes up for you in gratitude, and what questions do you have, if any? And what would you have to allow in yourself to face every single event in your life with a resounding thank you? Notice if we think, I need more money, I need a bigger house, I need a college fund for my kids, that focusing on these needs will cause you suffering, while focusing on what you have will cause you joy, gratitude, and peace. And that feels really cliche to say, but it's true. And if I look at people that I want to emulate, if you find someone in your life that you want to emulate, there's a really good chance that they have made friends with gratitude, right? They have an attitude of everything is perfectly orchestrated for my evolution. Nothing happens to me, everything happens for me. So what I'm practicing right now is when I go to bed and when I wake up in the morning while still in bed, expressing gratitude for simply being alive. And there's a Native American saying that says, give thanks for the unknown blessings that are already on their way. Give thanks for the unknown blessings that are already on their way, followed by the question, what grand and glorious adventure awaits me today? And this is the mental hygiene, to approach each day as a gift. So what is your mental hygiene practice that puts you into gratitude or simply allows the gratitude? Because everything that's not that is really not the truth, right? We tend to fill ourselves with worries about things that actually haven't even happened and are not true. And how do we know that they're not true? Is because the truth always sets you free. And what doesn't set you free is not the truth. It may be a clarion call or an invitation for something, but it's not the whole truth. Gratitude is what is already here and always here. So, questions that you have or comments? Courtney, you said new mantra. Which one is your new mantra? I would love to know. Aaron says, gratitude's not something you get, it's something you allow. Yes. It's not something you get, it's something you let. Yes. Similarly with abundance, which we'll talk about next week. I think Carrie is going to be on my show next week. Woo! We're going to talk about money next week. So Cherie says mental hygiene. Yes. Yes. Excellent. Okay. Anybody else? Yes. Courtney says when the war with the mind ends, the war ends. Well, that's beautiful because that's a Byron Katie quote. And actually, I have throne reading for you this week, which is by Ms. Byron Katie herself. Byron Katie, this book is called 1,000 Names for Joy, Living in Harmony with the Way Things Are. Yes, living in harmony with the way things are. I have this desire to be in a 30-day maybe gratitude challenge or a joy challenge to stop complaining. Can we just stop complaining? It doesn't feel good and it doesn't solve anything. It's like sitting in a rocking chair. It's something to do, but gets you nowhere, you know? So I want to stop complaining and I want to reside more in joy, like my dear friend Wendy. And I want to live in harmony with the way things are, because you can't always change what's happening, but you can change your relationship to it, right? So that's what I hope for, and that is what I want for you. So thank you for tuning in. Like I said, next week we are going to be talking about money practices. So if you have fears of becoming a bag lady, or you're afraid to think about money, or you avoid paying your bills, or you simply want to make friends with money so you can make more and keep more, then next week I am going to have Carrie on the show, 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern, for Real Talk. If you like this, please give it a like, share it with someone who could use a little gratitude hygiene in their lives. And yes, may you see everything in your life as a blessing and just feel grateful for being alive. Notice we don't have to like actually look for a whole bunch of things to be grateful for. Just be grateful because you are. Bye.